Was poppin', was poppin', was poppin'. Welcome, Nikki and Moose. I'm Nikki. That's Moose. What's up, Moose?
What up, y'all?
And welcome to episode 61. And today's title is called Invest in Your Future. And we're going to be talking about just that, right? We got some Coinbase and crypto talk in the NFL kind of vibe. We got spending $3 million on a YouTube set. Really?
Sheesh.
I'm confused. Some Black Friday talk and just a whole bunch of other stuff. Moose, how are we feeling about today?
Yeah, I'm excited. I used to think that every week we had to completely revolutionize the wheel, but I think sometimes when something is really important, you got to repeat it a few times. So I think this show is going to be super important for people to tap in.
All right, so let's get into his intro.
2 kids from Queens, cut from a different cloth. Now joining forces, helping you to elevate your personal brand. Yeah, I'm talking about Nikki and Moose, bringing you a never-before-seen perspective into the mindset, the mentality, the behaviors, the driving force, but more importantly, the stories behind the people and brands that you know and love the most.
And you already know what time it is the review of the week. We're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to take a comment from our YouTube channel, right, and bring it all the way back from when we used to do the Facebook Live days, because somebody, I did not reply to that, and I apologize, so I might as well reply on the actual podcast. Said, great video, and they're talking about actually the J. Cole breakdown. Great video, nice breakdown, really enjoyed the channel. Also, Moose did a great job of breaking down the building and numerical balance of building a brand. So shout out to everybody who leaves us a comment, a review. If you haven't checked out our YouTube channel, go check that out, subscribe, all that great stuff. And of course, shout out to all our new and vets of our listeners and viewers of this podcast. We totally appreciate you. All that great stuff. Moose, how are we feeling today?
Man, pretty good. You notice we're recording this one. Shout out to everyone who's actually watching the episode and not just listening to it. We are recording in the morning. Well, not in the morning, but earlier in the day. We usually record at night. So we got some coffee to get this thing rolling. Feeling really good though, man. Fresh off of Thanksgiving. Didn't eat too much. I wasn't typically I'm the fatty at the table. But I didn't overindulge, kept it pretty light. And I haven't, I think I told you yesterday, I haven't jumped into the Black Friday specials just yet. I did, but most of my money went toward investing, not so much actually purchasing the consumer goods. I'm going to get to that. I'm not saying I'm an angel and, ooh, yeah, look at me. I'm about to indulge in some consumerism. But for the most part, most of my stuff went towards investing. Yeah, last night. Stayed up doing a couple of things like that. So yeah.
So are you gonna tell the people at least one of the investments, or are we just no? Oh, we're good.
No, we gonna cover it on the episode. I mean, I've been talking Coinbase, crypto, coin. It's early, you know what I'm saying? You gotta get you gotta get the you gotta get the jaw warmed up.
Boing.
Yeah, but. I invested in CoinWoing. I invested in some CoinWoing and Coinbase.
Okay.
Crypto world. Yeah. So and really, I've been telling you about the whole metaverse concept. I'm really, really interested in that. We'll talk about it more for sure, in detail in the episode. But yeah, that's been where I'm at. Tell us about your Black Friday. I saw you out at North Face. That line looking kind of crazy. I'm actually surprised you left your house. I was like, oh yeah, no, she definitely not leaving the house. And then when you text I'm about to run over to North Face, I was like, oh, that's different.
Yeah. So Thanksgiving, I stayed home, right? And for those people who saw our Happy Thanksgiving post, I definitely had the Oculus Quest 2 on and was just enjoying life. Actually, didn't know that the Brazilian Steakhouse actually delivers. So I had a fire meal, I had
Wow.
fire meat, like Brazilian bread, the fried bananas, mashed potato, the flank steak, some other kind of steak. It was just fire, right? However, yes, I did go out to Black Friday. Because the outlet is about like 2-3 blocks away from my crib. Like not really far.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Close.
Yeah, no. It's really close. So, but still, the parking was crazy. I should have known then, right? My mom used to always take me out for Black Friday, and I used to always see the crowds, and I was like, I'm not, and I'm not a shopper. Like, I'm one of those people that will like look at the walls, see if I like something, and that's it. Racks really like, I don't know, give me anxiety. Like it's really bad. It's like, nope, can't do that. Do I see something cool? Boom. But I was like, you know what? Let's go outside. Let's stop being the mini introvert that you are and have become. So let's go outside. Let's go see what's happening. And there was lines, and I didn't understand. Like I saw lines at Nike, Under Armour, all that great stuff. Tommy Hilfiger. So I was like, man, then they're not gonna have no lines for North Face. It's not popping like that. Long and behold, they did because they were 50 and 60% off. I was like, oh. So yeah, I stood in line. I didn't really see anything that I liked, but hey, I went outside. You know what I mean? I went outside. But I did want to talk a little bit more about Black Friday because from like a business thing, and we've had this conversation like with the coaches because we were like, okay, you were like, yo, should we talk about Black Friday? And I was like, right? Like the planning of it, when to do it, how crazy you could look in. Like, I'll ask you this question.
Mm-hmm.
What was the worst, and you don't have to name names. But what was the worst deal that you saw, and why was it the worst deal to you? Like I said, don't have to name no names, but like one thing that you saw and you're like, oh, I'm definitely, this is bad, and I'm definitely not getting it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think you'll see some stores that tend to drop a little bit of their price in one product, but raise the price of another, so it almost like evens out. Mm-hmm. So I think that's probably one of the worst patterns I've seen. And then there are also some premium like items or just things that are relatively expensive in general that they're not going to expense them in a way that you're like, oh my God, this is the deal of all deals. So like, not to say that's a little bit of saving is better than nothing at all. But just for me, I'm just like, I think it's poorly executed when you make it a big deal and you kind of hype up the consumer to think that they're about to save all this money, and they walk in and they're like, oh, free shipping. And you're like, what? That's what the Black Friday is about. So I don't like the overhype of we're gonna, crazy deals, and then they almost lie to the consumer in a sense.
So this is what I was like really big on this week is, do you have to give a discount for Black Friday? And the reason why I say that is because like I was big on like, not having like certain brands not necessarily having that discount, like just this is my price, but I re-released it, all that great stuff. So, of course, I'm looking at Marathon, of course. Every year, I'm looking at Nipsey's brand because they just happen to do something all the time for Black Friday. Now, they released new stuff, and normally when they release new stuff, there's no discount on the new stuff. But even the new stuff, they had a discount, which almost, I said last year that I wasn't going to buy, and I didn't. Right? But it almost got me because I'm like, yo, not only did you release new stuff, but you also honored the Black Friday sale. I was like, that's pretty dope, which made me look at other brands like, if you're not giving a deal, like, I don't know what we're talking about. Like, Black Friday is for deals, not necessarily for, new stuff. Even though before I was like, You drop new stuff that like you could do that, but I'm thinking from a model of if you release something new, cool, but the rest of the stuff got to be discounted for Black Friday as well, right? So I wanted your take on like what model as far as for businesses who are selling, whether it's product or services, like what model do you think would work well based off what you've seen with Black Friday? Like what would people want to kind of consider next time?
Yeah, I think for a personal brand, especially, and I saw someone online who did it really well, and they pretty much just stayed true to their word. You know, and like I said, we've talked about you got to understand that how your business operations or how your business dealings almost train or engrave bad habits into the consumer. So if you say, hey, 50% off till midnight, and then you know that you're going to do it for the weekend, let's say, right? And then midnight comes on, you're like, all right, everyone is telling me to keep it going, so I'm going to keep it going. And it's more of like an attempt for you to gather more sales.
Yeah.
I think really what you're doing is like you're misleading the consumer. I've had this conversation with so many people because I didn't want to just say it was like my only thought process, but I think sales, the concept of selling should no longer really exist. I think consumers today are so smart. Like when you, like the Oculus, for example, we had already researched it.
Yeah.
We know what, you know, we knew all the, we don't, imagine you went into the store and somebody was trying to resell you on the Oculus. You're like, yo, my friend, like I already know what I want. I know what I'm getting, as a matter of fact. Just answer my specific questions and let me go. So I think the concept of overselling also is not necessarily a good thing. So staying true to your word, if it's 50% till midnight, like I saw Nipsey and Marathon, they did, or I should say Marathon, rest in peace in Nip, but they did that, right? I think it was like 40% till 9 and then 30% till like they had it kind of split up, but they stayed true to that. And I think that's something that us as people building personal brands or businesses, we really need to kind of pick up on those patterns and keep our word where our consumers, even just from a scheduling standpoint, based on some of these deals, you know, we're meeting the standard.
Yeah. So how do you, because one of the things that is common is like, especially for personal brands, is like they'll run the Black Friday sale and then they say extended for the weekend. And then Cyber Monday, right? And it's like, is it really that? Like, I mean, I have my own experience with Black Friday with the sales as far, even with Deeper Than the Brand, like on some like, okay, Black Friday, and we had it all planned out for the going towards the weekend and Cyber Monday. And I was like, kill it Black Friday. Kill it. Like, stay true to that. You said this is a Black Friday deal. Let's not extend it. Are we giving them extra? Are we changing the price? What are we doing? If not, let's kill it. Unless we're increasing. No, it's working. I don't care if it's working. You got to stay true to what you're doing. Like, what do you mean? So we kept it for a Black Friday and that was it. We ended it. Now, clearly, there were some other issues that I'll talk about maybe in the after show. But so get the after show. But yeah, no, I think it is important. And that doesn't even have to apply for a Black Friday sale. That could apply for like when you do trainings or when you do any kind of sale. 100%. It's like, you know, this is only 100 left, you know, and then when the 100 is, you're still selling it. And it's like, wait, because then the people who bought it, then that limit and scarcity feeling for your brand has now left. Yeah.
You lose the exclusivity for sure. For sure. Like you want the feeling. And it happened to me yesterday. There was a course that I wanted to pick up. And that was, you know, we talked about it Tuesday and sorry about some of the technical difficulties. YouTube or whatever wasn't cooperating with us last week. But, you know, we were saying like the reason why we had that talk was like utilize most of your funds back into your business and your brand before you like spend on yourself. Not saying don't enjoy your money, but just try and reinvest back. And there was a course that I was looking at and I was debating between, I was like, okay, I'm gonna get this one or that one. And it was a 50% sale or something like that. And legit, when I finally made my decision and go to check out, the discount was over with. Now, as you know what I'm saying, as a consumer, you're like, dang. But you know what? Again, we talk about what you do or how you run your business trains habits with your clients and your customers. So now for me as a client and a potential customer of that company, when I see I know it's not a gimmick, it's legit. This % off until this number, get it or you lose out. So sometimes we think like missing out on money right now is a bad thing, but it's not, because it can actually train the habits of your consumer or your client for the life cycle that you guys do business together, as long as you uphold that standard. So yeah, and I don't know what your take about this, but I don't know too many personal brands or small brands that can bring in enough sales to carry out an entire year, or enough sales to carry out an entire cycle, like let's say a season of life, through just one weekend. You know, it's like, can you bring in 100 million on a weekend as a personal brand? I'm not saying it's impossible, but that's the type of money
I mean, there's people who make like about $1 million, you know.
$1 million a weekend, yeah, for
$1
sure.
million a weekend, $1 million a launch or whatever like that. You know, there's probably some that do $1 million a week. You know, I know some that do that. So it's like, it's possible. I think when you're looking at maybe the average kind of personal brand and what they're doing, you're looking like, of course, the immediate goal is like 6 figures, you know, 6-figure launch. Can you master that? And so, you know, but that does run dry, like you said. So it is possible. I think it's just a matter of mastering that kind of flow. Because even with like us, I'm now honing in on more of the results than the price. You feel what I'm saying? So I don't want to do the gimmicks of, okay, this is all this up, and this is $4,000, and today we're slicing it to four something.
Right.
Like, and I saw that on our page, and I was like, yo, that's so disgusting. You feel what I'm saying? That's so disgusting. And so I want to focus more on, here are what you're going to get, and this is what it's going to do for you, right? Because and that's for anybody who's like in that kind of like educational, I want to teach the people and duplicate myself. Like, what is the results that you're giving, instead of necessarily the guap of stuff that you're putting in a pot and saying, here, you're getting all of this for this amount. When this is normally 1,000 over here, 3,000 to get into this community, it's $500,000. Like, what?
Right. Yeah. I actually have a lot to say about that. I'll say some of it now, and I'll save some for the after show, just because I know we got to get started.
Yeah.
But I want to remind just all the entrepreneurs, all the trainers and facilitators and people who have done something successfully and go back and say, I want to give back to my people. Please be mindful of your pricing, because you can't take away from the very people that you're trying to help build up, right? So when you are taxing these communities that you say you're trying to build up as a form of trying to help them get out, I think it defeats the purpose of what we're trying to do here. So I think just on this note of pricing and value add and perceived value, and again, all these fancy terms, and that's why I'm saying, the consumer is getting so good. Please understand that people know when they're being sold and oversold and even misled. So there's no need for you to try and beef up something or make it something more than it is. Just like Nikki said right there, right? Like, I'm actually going away from that. Like, let's not do all of this is usually about 20 million, but for today only, you get it for $299. It's like, come on, even as a consumer, you got to be thinking like, yo, what's the catch?
Right.
Like, why are you not charging me even half of that? Like, what's really happening here? Yeah. So yeah, I think our community, like, look, we have some amazing, gifted people and super talented folks who have brought knowledge to the world in ways that we probably would have never imagined possible before. But don't rob the communities that you're trying to uplift with some of these gimmicks. Like, that's not what it's intended to be, at least not in my belief.
There you go. I just wanted to touch on Black Friday real quick and some of the thoughts that I had with it. But let's get into this week's convo. Big news that we don't really see very often. So Odell Beckham Jr., right? For those who don't know who that is a wide receiver from the NFL, right? He had just recently got traded to the Rams, and he is to take new salary in Bitcoin, give 100 million, 1 million, where did 100? Maybe I thought of it. $1 million of digital currency to the fans. So, first and foremost, that right there is, it was done before with Aaron Rodgers, but only partial of the salary. He's doing his whole salary in Bitcoin, really putting towards the like, yo, this is going to be the future. And it is said that he can make up to $4 million off of this kind of move by putting it into Bitcoin. Because if Bitcoin rises, you know, it is crazy. Now, when I'm not gonna lie, and Odell, I love you because like you were a giant, and I still remember the catch, and I still have your jersey. So this is no shade to you, right? It's none. I thought he would have made more. So when they said, like, when they said, oh, he can make up to 4.5, not saying that, is it a lot? Don't get it twisted.
Right.
Not saying that. But I think of Odell, but then clearly there's some stuff that has transpired, and clearly with, you know, moving from team to team, maybe this is where he's at right now. But I was like, you were the man. You
Right.
were the chosen one. How did we get to going into Bitcoin to make possibly the most of 4.5? I was very confused, but that's neither here nor there. That's just me.
Yeah.
And don't fight me, nobody. It's just my opinion. But I thought this was really interesting because even now I'm like, AOE.
Right.
Hey, buddy. Hey, you want to give some of this situation to Bitcoin or Ethereum?
Bitcoin.
Like, what are we doing? Like, I'll take this amount. Like, I would be interested in taking some payment in some crypto. I would. Now, Now for the audience, definitely let us know what you would do. Would you pull this kind of move? Would you put all of your salary? Would you put some of it? If so, what's the percentage? Like, definitely hit us up and let us know. But Moose, what do you feel about this?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a really dope thing, right? First off, you got to look at someone who's had career earnings north of 100 million. I don't know the exact number, but I would imagine between contracts, endorsements, like you said, he's one of the top receivers of at least the last 5 years, despite of injuries. So he's got to have at least north of $100 million in career earnings. So for him to make this move now, very smart. Couple things to make note of here, though, again, from a business side. Number one, the only reason why that number is probably what it is, it's because they're probably a little bit more than halfway through the season or just about halfway through the season. So that's not his full salary for a year. That's probably a portion of it with whatever was due for him for the year. So he just took the remaining end in Bitcoin. Phenomenal. Now, the rollout, for those of you who didn't catch the video on his page, which what I love, and this is obviously your talk as well, Nikki, but I love the rollout because from a partnership standpoint, that announcement was made in collaboration with Cash App, which lets you know that he also got a check from Cash App, right, to make this announcement and take it. So yes, he got a portion of his salary in Bitcoin, but he also got some money from Cash App. I wouldn't be surprised that $1 million he's given away from fans was probably the exchange that he made with Cash App. Like, you know what? Instead of paying me for a brand collab, why don't you just give away money to my people, right? And call it like I did. And I'm not saying that he's
I was like, you think
pretending
he's
or
that
whatnot.
generous?
No.
That's dope.
I mean,
That's dope.
But it's a smart move though. Think
possible.
about it. If you want to give back. So I wouldn't be surprised, but I'm just saying from a business standpoint, like look at how some of these deals are structured, because while some of us are not yet at that magnitude of 7-figure deal making, I think this is a way that we can get some ideas when we're collaborating, when we are, I don't necessarily like the term bartering services, but just working together to kind of make things happen. These are some ideas that we can get for how to make something come to the table, right? It's like, you know what? All right, let's do this. So those are just some of the ideas, but I think it's a great move. You know, someone like him with the amount of fame and stardom that he has to make a move like that and invest in his own future. Shameless plug to the name of this episode. I think it's awesome.
I'm with that. And I had to look up actually. So he signed for a 1 year deal. So it's a $4.25 million. And so, according to the NFL. And so the Rams offered him a $500K signing bonus and a $750K base salary. So yeah, just give a little background on that. But I do like how Cash App is now picking NFL players, like you said, right? And probably going more into the sports world as far as bringing awareness, because Cash App, it also does buy and sell Bitcoin, right? I think they sell maybe some of the top coins or just
really?
Bitcoin, but for sure Bitcoin.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah.
And they're like, okay, for more people to be on our platform to do such thing, we got to get into the top influencers. Might as well start with some of these NFL players. So they did Aaron Rodgers. Now they're doing Odell. So I feel like they're going to be trying to battle Coinbase, which we're about to talk about. But I think it's a smart move from Cash App, from a more popular. If your favorite player is using it, you might as well as check it out.
Associate, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty dope. You know what I mean? Pretty dope. But kind of in a transition of, we mentioned Coinbase, right? Moose gave me this really interesting clip from the standpoint of, if we're talking about all this crypto stuff, like how does some of these platforms get built? But I looked at it from a standpoint of, here is when you have a problem and what is the solution. Like the clip that you showed that we're about to play was that simple to me. Here's your problem. Here's the solution. And the solution, if you concentrate on that, is definitely going to get you to new levels and demands, rather than trying to come up with stuff on your own. What is the problem? What is the solution? But I'll let you kind of introduce the clip. Yummy?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the thing that makes me most excited about this is that I'm very grateful that information is readily available to us now, as opposed to maybe even 10 years ago. And I love, more importantly, that our community and our culture is conscious enough and aware enough to pick up on some of these trends and mistakes that we've made in the future, to want to take advantage of mistakes that we've made in the past, to now want to take advantage of what's going to happen in the future. So I think this is just our way of doing our part to kind of like contribute to that. So I wanted to break down a few lessons in this clip, because there's so much to take away from it. In addition to what you said, right? Just a simple solution to the marketplace put them at a $100 billion market cap when they went public. I thought you was going to drop some horns for that. All right?
Okay.
But anyway.
My bad. Okay. All right. My bad. Sorry.
I'm just saying, 100 billion would it be for such a simple, like, oh, this is cool, but it's missing this. Let me work on that because it's within my skill set, and boom, it takes off. Of course, there are some hurdles along the way, but I think that being the biggest thing, and more importantly, us starting to pick up on the trends of the future and thinking about how we can position ourselves, right? We're talking about accepting Bitcoin as a form of payment, as possibly position ourselves as key players in this. So I think there's a lot to take away from it, but yeah, we'll discuss a little further after the clip.
Let's get into the clip.
In the early days, Bitcoins were lost and stolen. Exchanges were shut down. It was a new frontier that was complicated.
And so I would start to think about, how could this protocol be easier to use? How could I make something that helped it grow?
So Brian set out to make a simple way to buy, own, and sell Bitcoin in hopes of improving access and adoption.
Think about it, if you send an email or a WhatsApp message or something, it arrives instantly, it'll go everywhere in the world, it's free. What we haven't seen is a financial system that works like that.
All right, Moose, go in. Go.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. So check this out, right? So this is the clip that you just heard is from the founder of Coinbase. His name is Brian Armstrong. Now, he was someone who used to work at Airbnb as a software developer, or let's just call it a developer. And he noticed that one of the challenges that they were having was getting money across different platforms or different areas of the world, different parts of the world instantly, because of exactly what he said there, right? Email you can receive instantly. Messaging, everything was advancing, but what was the most outdated part of their business model or this whole thing was the currency portion of it, right? It took, anywhere from 3 to 5 business days to just get a simple transfer. So it didn't happen at the speed of time, and in a way it was holding business back. So he goes on his journey of just kind of exploring, and then he comes across this concept of Bitcoin. And this is the first thing that I wanted to really highlight here. He wasn't the founder of Bitcoin. And I know we can kind of confuse that because we're saying, oh, Coinbase, he founded Coinbase. It's a solution for Bitcoin. No. Coinbase is a platform. Bitcoin is just one of the many cryptocurrencies. And he provided a need to an idea that was widely growing and a mission that he believed in. So when you listen to his interview and either with other interviews like on different platforms or even that video that we showed, he's really kind of explaining like this is something that was founded by a person or a group no one really knows by the name of Satoshi. I think I'm saying that right. Mm-hmm. And he was the founder, or they were the founder of Bitcoin, but they were noticing that the biggest problem there was security, right? It wasn't easy to get a hold of. There were some fraud and things that were happening in addition to it. So they loved the idea of like, man, this makes sense from a business standpoint, right? Like we're in a new world business model that needs these instant transfers to be able to get money across without having to go through all these waitings and hula hoops. But there are some issues. So he attaches his skill set into the back of something that is already growing and he's believing in. So I thought that was like, from a business model for us out there who are not yet going or still trying to get off the ground, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. That we can literally tie in part of our skill set, something that we do really well, into a growing idea and use that as an opportunity to build wealth and grow our businesses. So that's the key lesson that I wanted to drive today. Like we can pick up on some of these trends. And again, if we're looking for credibility, the guy is now worth $6 billion, again, with a B, since their company went public, and then 100 billion in market share, just through that platform. So they're growing every day, but I love what they did there just to be able to bring it from nothing to this whole big, idea now that is giving opportunities for others to use the currencies, or not use them, but at least trade them, buy, sell, make that a little bit more accessible, which, is something that I think is super dope.
I like that. And I think for me, like I said, it was just very simple. It was, here's a problem, here's the solution. And like kind of how I was talking about with the Black Friday thing, it's like, what is the results that you're trying to give? People buy into results. People believe into results. People don't always necessarily believe a random idea. It is, hey, here's the problem, and this is what we can do to solve that. And what I found interesting with Coinbase is just some of the different moves that they have going on. Funny thing is that Adidas just recently tweeted, we're partnering with Coinbase. Probably nothing, which normally means it's probably something, right? And with we mentioned, I believe last week, the week before that, Nike making their moves into the metaverse. Where I'm actually curious about what does this honestly mean, because if Coinbase is more of a platform to store crypto, right? Is this, and here's where I'm going to assume or, give my 2 cents, maybe Adidas is going to come up with their own kind of token to where you have to buy this token to purchase their merchandise in the metaverse, right? And the only way you can do that is getting on Coinbase, buying it, and getting their wallet to purchase that. That's some of my ideas with why people would want to partner with like a company like Coinbase, just in this whole metaverse world. That, for those who don't know, like, you have to have a certain kind of wallet to purchase some of these things in the metaverse or some of these NFTs. And Coinbase is definitely one of those wallets, and on top of like MetaMask and everything. And I'm not trying to get too geeky because this will go over some people's heads. But if these major retailers are starting to think about, I need to get my products and my services in the metaverse, they have to start thinking about currency as well. They have to start thinking about, how do we receive payment for our digital products that are in this particular metaverse. So I love what Coinbase is doing. I love what, just, of course, it seems like every week we're going to be talking about a little bit about the metaverse here and there. So here's our little segment with that. Maybe we got to brand it somehow, some way. I don't know.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Yeah, no. I like where it's going. Yeah.
Get knowledgeable on this, because this isn't going anywhere. This isn't.
Let me ask you this real quick, actually, before we transition. I think this might be interesting. What are some ideas, or maybe even some things that you think somebody who has a product or service-based business out there, small personal brand or small business, maybe even a mid-size, whatever. I'm not trying to stereotype, but I'm just saying, for the people who are not like Adidas and Nike, what are some things you think that they can start to think about to position themselves to, be like early adopters in the metaverse? Like, is it a matter of starting to consider, I don't know, we talked about buying land in the metaverse, maybe getting some of your products. Like, how can you position it? Because my idea to it is, with everything new, there's the yin and yang relationship, right? There's the good and the bad. And I would love for us to be early adopters and people who pioneer good in a new world, right? Like, we're doing it here, but in a sense, everybody is like, like, I want good for the world and I want to save the people. But I think doing it in a new way would be really cool. So I'm actually really interested in that. But I'm just wondering, any ideas from your front, like for somebody who is listening to this and they're like, okay, this is interesting, but how do I get involved? Because that typically is taboo. Any ideas or things that maybe you're considering yourself?
Yeah, I think from an easy standpoint, start looking into NFTs, right? The reason why I say that is because right now it is more of a community base than anything. Like, what we were covering before was some of these random drops, really great art or video clips, and people will sell one-offs and that was it. But now what's happening is that if you create a NFT project, which is like multiple, let's say, animations or art design, like, let's say if we were talking about before, when we were talking about the Bleacher Report and the basketball that they had created, you would be giving out multiple different designs as artwork of these basketballs, but each of these unlock a different type of access possibly for your community, where maybe they are able to go into a special event. Maybe they're able to get exclusive merchandise. Maybe they're able to get a phone call with you or things like that. Like NFTs, if you haven't looked into them, as far as maybe, sticking your toe into it, you may want to look into that. We've talked about it, kind of finding out more about this metaverse and maybe starting to buy land into it, right? There are two very popular ones, which is Decentraland and Sandbox. And those are two places where people are really starting to buy land. Now, those are the two expensive ones as well, right? So you can either go into that understanding that you're probably going to be spending, right now, Ethereum is like a little bit over $4,000 and they're going for 3 Ethereum. So 3 times 4, do the math. I can't do it because I suck at math, but you get the point, right? and then possibly building a store out of it, a mall out of it, a rec center or something like that goes towards your brand. There was one that I was seeing that did like a little arcade, and one of the thing was when you press on it, because it was like a link, like a hyperlink on a statue, and it took them to their Instagram. So that you may want to look into that a little bit more, but there's a lot of things that you can do as far as preparing. I would get just those 2 topics without super nerding out. It really like, okay, cool. Or from a very simple consumer stand base, get the Oculus. Get some type of VR headset. If you want to jump into, there's rumor that Apple's going to do their little eyewear, not calling it little, but their eyewear into the virtual reality and augmented reality. So there's just a lot of stuff that's happening that as brands and businesses that we just need to keep be very, very keen to it, because even I was talking to Q yesterday. Shout out to Quincy Harris. He put me on his live, and I was like, yeah, I'm chilling in the metaverse. He's like, yeah, it's going to take me a minute to get into that. And that's how some people's mindset is. It's like, yo, it's going to take me, I'm not so used to that. I'm just getting used to this whole social media thing. Like, now you want me to get into the metaverse? And I'm like, we did, and Isaiah definitely put it on the screen for our social media people. But we were in the metaverse, right?
Nice.
We had a meeting, me, Carl, Isaiah, Nick, Jose and Kurt actually dialed in, and so they saw us. But we were able to go into the whiteboard, share our screen, work with our computers, and we had our own office. It was decorated.
Awesome.
We saw smoke come out of this like a vent and everything. It was just really dope. And the experience was as you move your head, if they're next to you, you hear them louder than if it's on your right. So it's realistic. So if Nick is on my left, I'm hearing Nick louder, and I'm hearing Carl on my right. Absolutely.
Wow.
So
that's really cool.
It's going to change. I showed it to E, right? And I was like, look, this is going to save on planes, because they want to do a whole retreat. I was like, well, we did our meeting in the metaverse. So
metaverse.
You tell me how that works out.
Yeah, let me say this real quick. For those of you out there who are still on the fence, forget your openness or you feeling weirded out about this idea of a metaverse. But if you're more of a practical business person, all right, let me say this to you. Never pass up on an opportunity to make your brand or your business younger, right? And that's what this is doing. And the reason why I'm saying that, shout out to my client turned friend, his son. His son is 11 years old. You know who I've been going to get most of my my understanding about the metaverse? Him. An 11-year-old young man is the one who's teaching me about the pros and the cons. And he was telling me, he was like, I think there's a lot of opportunity for it, but people have to be careful because they can get such a high experience in the metaverse that they'll be fed. You can buy food, but you won't actually feel the nutrition. So it can mess with people's minds. And I'm like, yo, the fact that an 11-year-old child understands this so deeply, that's an opportunity for us to make our brands and our businesses younger, which then extend the lifeline of how long we're on this earth for. So again, I know it's a little crazy for some of us, but just consider it from that fact alone.
Yep, and that put it for those who are watching, and if you're listening, I'll tell you, I got the picture of the crew in the metaverse right there. You see, hold on, over there.
Fire office too.
Yeah, I know, right? It's super dope. And see me in the blue hat. I'm there rocking it out. But yeah, this is just what it is, and we just gonna get ready for it. You know what I mean? But let's talk about from a creator side. I found this very interesting. So this was trending a bit where there is a YouTuber called Mr. Beast, and he created a real life Squid Game set that had people compete for $456,000. All right. Now, the reason why I found this very amazing was because he spent $3.5 million on this particular set. So every game of the Squid Game, which I fully haven't seen in its entirety. I saw a little bit of it. The main character annoyed me. I couldn't watch it fully. I'm sorry. But clearly everybody loves Squid Game, right? Did you watch it?
I did not. No.
Oh, see, well, at least I saw part of it. But this is not about the Squid Game. This is about he had all the games that was in Squid Game and gave prize money to it, and it took him $2 million to do the set and to produce it, and $1.5 million for gifts. I thought that was crazy. I thought that was amazing. And with Mr. Beast, he has about 78 million subscribers on YouTube. He makes $3 million, about $3 million between YouTube royalties, sponsorships, merchandise, those kind of brand deals. So I was like, oh, okay, you spend a month's worth on the set. But what was interesting, I'm like, yo, there has to be some lessons that we can learn from this dude, because if you're making $3 million a month off of YouTube, and I believe he's about like 23 years old. I believe he looks old, but I believe he's right?
Wow.
What can we learn from just how to grow in your lane, as well as how to grow your brand? So I found this clip for anybody who was interested in YouTube and growing that, or just any type of like content wise. I found this interesting.
I think I got monetized till I was like 15 or 16, but ever since I got my first YouTube paycheck, I just always spent it back on YouTube.
Was that because the belief was distribution is the most valuable thing?
I just wanted to be the biggest YouTuber I could be. Like, if you want to be a YouTuber, if you're watching this, right, like, and you're thinking in the scale of 10 years, like, if you literally are grinding and you're obsessed and you're just every day studying and learning, and you surround yourself with smart people and you just work like hell, to be honest, for 10 years, like, there's probably a good chance you'll make it. But if you do that over the course of 6 months or a year, I don't know, but that's why I like to think over the span of a decade. A lot of people are very short-term sighted, but as long as you're innovating, adapting, reinvesting, I think if you do it intelligently, like, you have a good odds of, I don't know.
So clearly, the part that really intrigued me was the finance part, right? That everything that he got, he reinvested into it. And we clearly see that even with this Squid Game thing. Now, Mr. Beast, gets, I think, on a regular, 50 million streams. Like, there was one video that had 152 million. Like, it is not light numbers, right? And his whole thing is like, all I wanted to do, not necessarily be the most paid YouTuber, not necessarily, have this, that, and the third. He just wanted to be the biggest YouTuber. And so he reinvested everything he had in order to make better videos so he could be known as the biggest YouTuber. And it teaches, just from whether it's a branding or business side, if you're wanting to be the best, are you putting back not only the money, but the energy every single time? And I believe he puts out a video, several videos a week, right? And they continue to get better. Like, he buried himself under under the ground for like 50 hours or something like that. He was in confinement for 50 hours. Like, he does these random things as well as give money away. So he gives, one of the biggest prizes was that he gave a person $500K for just being in a circle for 12 hours, right? So he's doing things intentionally to get people's attention, but in all order to be the biggest YouTube star. Now, he doesn't have the most subscribers, but he is in like the top, I want to say top 5 of YouTube subscribers. Now, I did also like that he said a 10-year span. He did address like, yo, if you thinking that this can happen in 6 months to a year, okay, cool. But if you are thinking as a long term of 10 years, and I think 10 years is one of those like happy mediums or something like that, because shout out to Ian, the master investor. He says invest in 10 years, you'll see results. You know, E with, you know, his 10 to 20 years kind of concept. And so when I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, of course we would want to grow certain amount of numbers, whether it's within engagement or sales, for a year. Like, we're seeing people do 6 figures, 7 figures in a year, all, you know. But if you already go to a 10-year span and you're studying and you're reinvesting and you're innovating yourself over and over again, right? That is now what you may have made if you did it what we see, the microwave wave kind of situation right now. You could have hit a good lick for a year or two, but is that going to last 10 years? Whereas if you go with a mindset of, I'm going to do this for 10 years, you're instantly lasting, because you're instantly trying to do something new. You're instantly taking that dollar and turning it into $1.50 and reinvesting that $1.50 and turning it into $3.50. And you're continuously piling it up and piling it up. So not only from a creator standpoint, but just from a brand and business standpoint, I think that 10-year formula is something that we should pay attention to, where he said, yo, study, reinvest, reinnovate. I think there was one other thing, but those are 3 that I got that I'm like, oh yeah, why am I even holding some of this money that I have?
For real. Yeah, no, I love this clip, man, and thank you for bringing it to light, because I think it's like really a reminder for us, like, yo, find that thing that makes you almost go crazy, but you don't care that people think that you are. You know, like we really got to do that, because like when you first said it, like, oh, he spent $3.5 million on a video, I was like, oh, my man is crazy.
Yeah.
But listening to him talk about it, he is totally fine with you calling him crazy. Why? Because that is his dream. Like, that is his goal. I was reading some stuff on him, and he's saying, you know, he's living his dreams of being a YouTube star, or the vision that he had as a 13-year-old, as a teenager. Yeah. So I think that's something that we really got to respect and appreciate. But I love what he's doing. You talked about reinvesting, and just from a number standpoint, and this is why I always say, don't be so worried and caught up in the magnitude of what someone's doing. What, he gave away $500K? Man, I don't even bring in $500K. How can I give away $500K? What, he put $3 million in a video? It's like, look, listen to what he's saying. If he's, and I'm just listening to what you're saying, and this is how I want other people to translate it. He makes $3 million a month. That's $36 million a year. And he put about $3.5 million into a video, which is 10% of his yearly income. Have you, and that's my challenge to you, have you put in 10% of your yearly income back into your business? And that's why I said this Black Friday, right? Or this holiday season, let's call that, because Black Friday might already be over by the time you listen to this. Yeah. Have you invested back into your business before you spent on consuming things? All right. So I think that's a great lesson, Nixon. Yeah, that's so dope, man.
I'm not saying anything after. Not saying anything. That's a whole formula right there. Some people are like, I haven't invested 3%.
10%.
Yeah, right. I haven't invested 3%, right. Let alone you tell me 10. That's crazy. But there's this this last clip that I love, and I've stated several times, not only on this podcast but even on my stuff, where when we're thinking about expanding, we're thinking about growing and scaling our brand. Sometimes we think about new products and new services instantly, like for example, if we were McDonald's, I'm going to think of quesadilla. Instead of necessarily doubling down on my burgers, I'm going to do a Mc quesadilla and see how that works, right? I want to reach my Hispanics out there and see how this works out. But sometimes it's not a matter of creating something new; it's a matter of going global. So he did something really interesting with his channels. Instead of creating, now he does have like a gaming channel and a philanthropy kind of channel, because that's what he's about. But he also has different languages for his original channel. And so this was the concept about that.
Started dubbing, you can overplay clips, I don't care, our videos in Espanol. And
So you hire a voice-over actor to play your friend's voices.
Well, I hired some, we actually got some celebrities in Mexico. And so my main channel is 60% American, and the UK is 10, 15%. But on my Espanol channel, it's 1% American. It's literally a whole new audience.
No way.
Yeah, and so these are people, I'm literally #1 trending in Mexico with videos that I uploaded 2 years ago.
So I want you to take first before I go in.
Bro, that's so dope. I just looked up his nationality. I'm like, oh, maybe he's of some form of Latin descent, right? Or he speaks Spanish, if that's that's the move he made. And it says, Mr. Beast, American, Wichita, Kansas, U.S., right? It's like, no, he is not from any of those things, right? Absolutely. So I think it shows the genius of a business mind. And I think just someone living in America, you probably have to notice that the Latin community is extremely large, right? It's they're very present, very active in the US. So for a way to want to expand your business, and I'm a huge fan of diversity. It's that's a great move. And I love that he's pulling clips from 2 years ago. like he's not, they're questioning him oh, so you're reproducing. No. He's like, no, I'm just pulling stuff back from 2 years ago and giving them opportunity. And it almost reminds me like a Drake concept in a way, because, in some of our episodes, when we covered Drake, we talked about him getting heat for not using the island or using the Caribbean culture, but not putting them on. And he's like, nope, every time I go into an island, I put artists of that area on. So the fact that he's using people from Mexico, right? Like he's using people of that area to kind of help bring awareness to it, I think is genius. So I love that. Okay, let me expand, but I'm giving back to the people who are helping me expand and kind of taking it to a new level from there.
Yeah, and I'm gonna state this real quick. Any male and female, right? We need two, one male, one female, who speak Spanish or any other real language, but Spanish. We'll pick some of the top ones. Spanish. What else is popular? Italians are popular. French is popular.
Would be cool. Yeah, I was gonna say French would be really cool.
French is cool. Chinese, Japanese, but definitely Spanish first. Let's go Spanish first, right? Because we're Queens people, and there's so many Spanish people in Queens. So, male, female, who want to kind of one take over for me and take over for Moose for some of these episodes. We'll give you the episodes, and I think that's genius first and foremost.
Heck yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The fact that now he is trending over in these Spanish countries for something that he did 2 years ago, when we're looking at always trying to recreate something. No, let's use some of our stuff. And how do we go global? How do we reach new audiences? Because we really haven't reached the billions of people in this world. We're focused on maybe our city. We're focused on our state. We're focused on our country. But there's several other countries that we haven't necessarily touched. There's like, and maybe we've touched a little bit about it because maybe they understand our native language. But what if we were to really communicate with them in their language? What would the fan base be then? What would the impact be then? What would the interaction be then? You know, to where now if Mr. Beast wanted to create a video out in, you know, in Mexico, he could, and it would be super receiving. You know, there'd be people probably lined up to watch it because they know now of Mr. Beast. My question is, do they know you? You know, do they know? Does the Spanish community know you? Does the Asian community know you? Does the Italian community know you? Right, and not those who speak your native language, but those who honestly speak their native language. And if we haven't touched the global aspect of our brand, there's still a lot more work to do. There's still not more products and services to do. How can we turn our programs, our products, our services into a different language to attract other people? You know, you're looking at some people have courses, some people have ebooks, some people, you know, have t-shirts. Well, have you turned a t-shirt into something Spanish? Have you even tried that? Like if we had the shout out to Eve, we turned the E breathe shirt into Spanish. How would that do?
Yeah, right.
You know, and reach out to those people. And this is where it's crazy because he said his stats of, you know, I got 60% US, but I got 1% of Spanish, right? And now that I'm doing this particular thing where I'm now translating it into Spanish, now I'm trending. So all these people are new because over here in my other channel, I only have 1%. But over here, I'm making thousands and thousands of views over here off of a brand new audience that didn't even know who I was.
Right.
And that could only help. Yeah, that could only help. Yeah. So now I'm like, are you going global? If you're not going global, do not right now think about creating something new because all you need is a bigger audience. And creating new products isn't going to make a bigger audience. It's sometimes just going to only cater to the ones that you have right now.
Yeah. Shout out to all of those people who are familiar with the concept of blue ocean strategy. It's more of a business book or whatnot, but I love that idea because, you know, it's maybe in our society, in our culture, everyone's big on competing.
Yeah.
But like some of the business people, they don't like competition. They want to dominate. So if there's a lot of competition in the American YouTube space, he kind of applied his own blue ocean strategy and said, oh, you know what? Let me not stress. Let me go into a completely different market. And I don't want to compete with the YouTubers of this area. I'm going to go and, you know, almost build and dominate in a completely different space. So yeah, it's cool, man. I love it when we break down kind of like the science of this because you start to really see the patterns of things that we can do. You know, like I've talked about it with some of my own stuff. I'm like, man, as I relaunch, I want to utilize every skill set and I want to lean into the deepest parts of me. My native language is Arabic. I speak it fluently. I can be a little bit rough around the edges, but with practice, I'm sure it could work. And I've seen some other like trainers and educators who do that. Like on their YouTube channel, they'll have their English videos that goes out and it's probably like their main bread and butter, but they have a playlist of their videos translated into their native language that's available back for their communities, you know, in different countries around the world. So I'm really fascinated with that idea. And I think,
that's good. But do me a favor. Go check out our YouTube show live show, right? Every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. 5 p.m. West Coast time. I always mess this up. I apologize. And go follow us on Nikki and Moose everywhere at Nikki and Moose. And Moose, final words.
Yes, sir. I'm gonna give a I'm gonna use final words as a short story this time because I think it's gonna be fitting. So give me like 60 to 90 seconds on this clip. All right. So I've talked about how I upgraded my equipment over the last few weeks. And I had an iMac that I bought in 2016 when I first started my hospitality business, and it was bought for that reason. About 2 years ago, this iMac almost went entirely dead on me. I mean, it would power on, but it would take, anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes just to be able to press like a Safari button, right? And when I was upgrading, I used that as one of my trading options. I was like, you know what? I'm going to actually trade it back. I have no use for it. So as I was backing everything up, I signed out of my iCloud account, and that thing became a rocket machine. I'm like, yo, where was this performance, over the last 2 years when I could have still used this desktop? So I'm sitting there, and then Robelsi's like, wow, are you sad that you're going to like kind of give it away? Because I'm not going to lie, part of me at that moment, like anybody out there who's giving away something that, is still working, you're like, damn, maybe I should keep it. Like, forget the trade-in value. And then I sat back for a moment and I said, you know what? No, I'm not sad because it served its purpose. When I first bought this computer, I bought it so it can help me build this hospitality business so I can be exactly where I am today. And it's done that, like it's served its mission already. So my word and my challenge and my reminder for you this week is stop hanging on to things past their purpose. Stop hanging on things past their purpose. If you invested into something, if you have dedicated your time to something and in your vision, it was dedicated for something specific, once you reach that landmark, or once you reach that finish line, let it go.